Now, I think we have a slideshow, do we? We do? Yeah, okay. So just a brief introduction to Ireland's butterflies here. We have 35 species, 32 are with us all year. 3 are migrants. We have 24 grassland and marsh species, 10 scrub and woodland, and 2 specialise in raised and blanket bog, particularly large heath, and to a somewhat lesser extent, the beautiful butterfly you see represented here, the green hair streak. So, Sinead, in talking to me about this conference, mentioning the faith group interest in biodiversity, and it's wonderful to see that commitment, that spiritual commitment to our wildlife and wild creatures. The Anglican Communion, represented in Ireland by the Church of Ireland, I'm a Church of Ireland member myself, has 5 marks of mission. The 5th mark of mission is to strive to safeguard the integrity of creation and sustain and renew the life of the earth. That mark of mission emanated from a decision by the Church of Wales in 1992 and developed from there and was accepted by the Anglican Communion eventually. So it's wonderful to see that. In Laudato Si, the wonderful document by Pope Francis, and it's a big document. I read some of it. It's a beautifully crafted document. We read that this diversity of species has an intrinsic value independent of their usefulness. Each organism as a creature of God is good and admirable in itself. And that's a wonderful description, because very often you get asked, what use is this? Yeah, but what use is it? What does it do? They're important in themselves, just like every one of us. In March 2023, the Irish Bishops' Conference agreed that parishes would return 30% of church property to nature. And that was a response to the biodiversity crisis we're facing, Pope Francis's encyclical letter, and the UN Conference on Biodiversity. So it's wonderful to see that commitment from faith groups. And the Presbyterian Church in Maynooth, the first Presbyterian church in Ireland to be open since 1915, when the last one was opened in Arklow, the church grounds there are being dedicated to biodiversity. My wife is deacon of that church, so it's wonderful to see that happening. Wood white, beautiful creature, and this is wood white as in Leptidius inapis. This was taken in Cluncoos Valley. So I think I'm pretty safe, Brian, in saying this is wood white. It's feeding on a beautiful flower there, ragged robin, and I couldn't resist taking that photograph. It was just dying for me to photograph it. It's a gorgeous butterfly, a very characterful little thing. It has no spots like a lot of the other white butterflies have, and it has this dainty, floppy flight. Its sister species is the cryptic wood white, which is found everywhere else but the Burren. It was an interesting study that Brian Nelson sent me, and I read it with great interest. The question is, how do wood whites and cryptic wood whites tell each other apart? Well, they look identical, completely identical. So how do they know? How do males know which females to court, and how do females know which males to accept? Well, a study about 2008 revealed that cyclinol and dihydroisoferone, I'm going to try that again, dihydroisoferone are chemicals unique to wood white. They release a volatile collection of chemicals, and those 2 are unique to wood white. However, only half of the wood whites in the laboratory experiment released those compounds. Yet still, the females knew not to accept a wood white not of her own species, even though cryptic wood white, Rayal's wood white, and wood white are completely identical. So how females know and recognize their own species is still a mystery. So it's a fabulous and fascinating group, and so much to learn about butterflies. There really is. They release other chemicals as well, like limonene, methyl salicylate, and octyl alcohol, and there's about 10 chemicals released during courtship. So butterflies are complicated creatures. Interestingly enough as well, female wood whites are picky. In the laboratory experiment, 38% of virgin females refuse to mate with males. And in the wild, 25% of virgin females refuse to mate with the first male that showed up. So they're picky little butterflies. They're choosy. How they're selecting mates, I don't know, but it just adds interest to this wonderful group. Next one here is a clouded yellow. I'm going to tell you I cheated on this one. This is on pitch clover. I took this in Gozo in April. Why didn't I take it here? We don't get them in my neck of the woods too often. They're abundant. They have years of abundance once every 20 or 30 years. We're still waiting for the next year of abundance. It's a gorgeous species. It's a migrant. It breeds here, and there's probably reverse migration in autumn after they bred here. It's a lovely butterfly. During the Second World War, the British had lookout posts along their south coast, and they saw a massive cloud of yellow coming towards them. They thought the Germans had released mustard gas. It wasn't. It was the clouded yellow. So we can all relax. Now, brimstone, another gorgeous creature. We recently released the Atlas, an Atlas of Irish Butterflies, 2008-2021. That was done on the 2nd of May at the Royal Irish Academy. And this species isn't doing too badly. It's stable at the moment. It overwinters as an adult butterfly. And adults born in the previous year can overlap with the following year's generation. I've seen very aged females flying around with brand new brimstones. It's the only Irish butterfly that can live long enough to see its children flying around. So, wonderful species. And I have some brimstone caterpillars with me today, so when you're on your tea break, I can show them to you. Next one, this is a very common butterfly, and so what? It's common, you've seen it all before, who cares? You should care when it's declined by 77% between 2008 and 2021. We should care very much when a common butterfly like this, pretty undemanding, has plummeted by that astronomical amount. That is scary. That is worrying. We really should be very worried about our common species. They actually seem to be the ones who have been hit the hardest. Another fascinating species, its life cycle, it's similar to every other butterflies. However, like all butterflies, they have their enemies, and it has a particular enemy called Pteromalus puparum. It's a wasp that injects its eggs into the caterpillars and sometimes newly formed pupae. The remarkable thing about that wasp is that it injects a venom into the caterpillar as well. This venom suppresses the caterpillar's immune response, its cellular and antibody responses of the host larva or pupa. It stimulates the pupa or larva to produce antibacterial and antifungal responses after the body was punctured by the egg-laying adult wasp. It regulates the hormone level of its host so that it develops in tandem with the host, and it regulates the host metabolism to make sure that it obtains nutrients from the host. So it's a remarkable degree of adaptation to the host. And one of the savage and sad things about this butterfly, when Cotesia glomerata, another wasp, the grubs bite the way out of the caterpillar just when it's ready to pupate. And the caterpillar is dying, but the caterpillar then protects the wasp cocoons from attack by hyperparasitoids, by moving over them and spinning a web over them. So even as it's dying, it's protecting its killer. So just remarkable relationships. Never ignore a common butterfly. There's so many chapters to these stories. So we're moving on to the small white, like a miniature of the large white. It shares some of the parasites of the large white as well. Minus 77%, 2008 to 2021. Let's worry. Green-veined white, the male is on the left. He is one spot. The female has 2 spots in the forewing. I don't know if you've ever touched a green-veined white's forewing, the most magnificent citral fragrance, lemon verbena smell. It's used in human perfume. The male showers this love dust over the female as an aphrodisiac, and love happens. However, I wonder, is there a human message here? When they're about to disengage, he smears her with a nasty smell called methyl salicylate, which you can get in oil of wintergreen from your chemist for your bumps and bruises. And this puts other males off mating with her. That's charming, isn't it? Real charmer, that butterfly. However, it allows her to lay her eggs in peace without being harassed by 4 or 5 amorous males as she looks for food plants, which will draw the attention of predatory birds and dragonflies. So it has a purpose. And it does wear off after a few days, and then she becomes sexy again. So this is the orange tip, gorgeous creature. I think it's my favorite spring butterfly. I mean, who doesn't love the orange tip? Minus 68%. Not good news. Stop cutting your road verges in spring. There's the male there, the underside. It's just underside or upper side. It's exquisite either way. Brown hair streak. A number of our butterflies are very rare, and this is one of them. They're very confined. I mean, this occurs in just 1.8% of Ireland's 10 kilometre squares. And that means 18 squares out of 1,019 of our 10 kilometre squares, just 18 of them. As far as we know, it's not doing badly, but we don't have enough data. So anyone who wants to record, please let us know, especially the National Biodiversity Data Centre or Butterfly Conservation Ireland, and we'll give you a steer. Purple hair streak, another gorgeous butterfly, occupies 6.9% of Ireland's 10 kilometre squares. That's 70 squares out of 1,019. Doesn't seem to be in any real trouble, but there aren't enough oak woods. It depends on oak. Small copper, another gorgeous creature, minus 69.4%. Not good. A meadow near me, the farmer went and sprayed it with herbicide and killed all the common sorrel. Killed every one of them. Killed all the cuckoo flower as well, so no more green vein white, no more orange tip. Not difficult to see what's happening. Gorgeous common blue, I took that in Coolorta in the Burren. Beautiful butterfly, minus 72.3%. Again, worrying. Red Admiral seems to be doing okay. It's a migrant, so we're not fully responsible for how it's doing because it comes here from abroad and beginning to hang around in the winter in Howth because of the milder winters we're having. It didn't hang around last winter though. Last year was a disaster for butterflies. It was the Annus horribilis, as the late Queen Elizabeth II would call it. It was a disaster, but hopefully we're on to better things. Another migrant, painted lady, another gorgeous species. Reverse migration happens in the autumn. They migrate up to 1 kilometre up, looking for following winds. So, small tortoiseshell, this is the one you like to see in your kitchen in October, in the curtain folds when you turn on the central heating and you let it out thinking you're doing it a favour. You're not. Those handy little Lidl and Aldi soups, you know, the plastic tubs, bit of kitchen roll, the bottom of the tub, stick the small tortoiseshell in, put it in the fridge for the winter, let out in spring. Works a treat. The year before last, I had 20 in my house in the winter. I put the 20 of them in 2 boxes and 15 of the 20 survived. 75% survival rate's pretty good. Gorgeous butterfly, the peacock. Small tortoiseshell is in decline as well, by the way. Last year was the worst year in my lifetime for it. I didn't see a small tortoiseshell in my garden until the 2nd of September. I mean, that's awful, and it was pretty much weather related. Lovely peacock, doing fairly well, pretty stable, one of the most beautiful butterflies in the world, I think. Comma, a colonist since 2000. It has, in that time, it has occupied 304 of our 10 kilometre squares. In other words, nearly a third of our 10 kilometre squares now is occupied by the comma. So it's spreading magnificently from the southeast, northwards, and westward. It's doing very well. This is our rarest butterfly, the pearl-bordered fritillary. You can see the pearls bordering the wings. You have to go to the Burren for it. You can see them on Carboniferous limestone in the National Park. It only occurs in 10 of our 1,019 10 kilometre squares. As long as the Burren's managed sustainably and there isn't increased grassiness due to climate change and atmospheric nitrogen deposition, it should be okay. But it needs that aridity and dryness around the larval food plant. And if it gets moist and wet and the temperature cools with increased grass growth early in the year, it would be in trouble. Silver washed fritillary. I don't know if anyone here ever seen the courtship dance of this butterfly. It is the most romantic and beautiful spectacle. I mean, Ian, you've seen it. It is gorgeous to watch. The courtship flight is the most... It needs to be set to Vivaldi, right? That's what needs to happen here with that butterfly. It is magnificent. It's a clever little well, it's not a little butterfly, it's our largest native butterfly. It lays its eggs up in trees, so when the wood floods in the winter, the larva doesn't drown. In spring, when it's dried up, the caterpillar comes down from the oak tree or pine and starts feeding on common dog violet. And add another touch of cleverness, it lays its egg on the north face of the tree, so the caterpillar, which has to spend months there, doesn't desiccate in the August heat. This is a marsh fritillary, our only legally protected insect. I have a couple of marsh fritillaries with me here today, a couple of adults, so you get to see it. Protected under the Habitats Directive. In England, the minimum figure of 50 hectares of suitable habitat within an area of 16 kilometres squared is the minimum needed for long-term survival. So I'll say that again. It needs 50 hectares, that's half a kilometre squared, in an area of 16 kilometres squared for long-term survival. That's the ratio of 1 hectare is to 32 hectares. Now, it's unknown if that minimum figure applies in Ireland or what proportion of Ireland's land holds suitable habitat for that. So that's an interesting research subject if anyone wants to do that. The SAC, Special Area Conservation Objective Reports by NPWS show the species recorded in only 4 of the 12 special areas of conservation designated to protect it. That's not great. And I know from personal experience it's absent from at least 3. And it's probably absent from the 8 out of the 12. And these are sites designated for it. Speckled wood, our most recorded butterfly, moderate decline of -60%. National Biodiversity Data Centre has 55,619 records of that butterfly. It's not the most exciting looking butterfly, but its behavior is very exciting. The males are really viciously territorial, and they attack any other male butterfly that comes along. The male that holds the territory always wins, unless both males think it's theirs. So if the 2 males hatch from the same time in the same spot, they both think it's their territory, and then they'll kick the hell out of each other for ages. They'll even land on the ground and headbutt each other. I've filmed it. It's incredible to watch. Wall brown, God, it's a sad story. I used to look outside, I used to jump over the back wall and see it. I have to get in the car and drive for an hour now, see that butterfly. It's declined catastrophically. Critically endangered in Northern Ireland. I think they've seen 2 in Northern Ireland the last decade. And it's endangered in the Irish Republic. The moderate decline between 2008 and 2021 is -70.6%. And that's on top of decline since the mid-1980s. Grayling, declining in Dublin now. I've only found it in Howth Head on the rock outcrops. I haven't found, as a child I used to look at it in Bull Isle, North Bull Isle, and just go into the sand dunes chasing them. Not there anymore. It's just not there. It's marked absent. It's just not there. I don't know why. The dunes look healthy for it. Maybe it's pollution. I think air pollution, atmospheric nitrogen deposition might be playing a big role in what's happening to our biodiversity. Hedge brown, sometimes known as the gatekeeper. I love the name hedge brown, but most of you call it the gatekeeper. This has lost 40% of its pre-2010 recorded distribution. That's the most scary of all, because it's losing distribution. It's not just losing numbers. It's losing the number of places it's found in. It only now occurs in Wexford, in a very small part of Wexford, Waterford, Cork and Kerry. So it now occurs in just 5.8% of 10 kilometre squares. In Britain, it's crossed the border into Scotland now. What are we doing wrong? There's another research project. Meadow brown, very common, on the brink of extinction in my mother's home country, Malta. They've destroyed their environment. Malta and Ireland have the worst biodiversity intactness in the European Union. So we have a great relationship with them. It's gone from the Mail Island, and I think about 6 per year are seen on Gozo, which is where my mum is from. So if you think it's a type of butterfly you couldn't get rid of, they managed it, so we might. So we saw 4 out there, thank God, and let's hope we continue to look after it. Ringlet, minus 88%. Meadow brown was minus 87. It's not a good race to be winning. Lovely grassy butterfly of grassy places. Small heath, another lovely butterfly, minus 76%. Now really only occupies species-rich grassland. And finally, large heath, bog butterfly only, wet bog. If you burn the bog, it disappears. It's very vulnerable. This is a photograph of our best habitat for most of our butterflies, limestone pavement, limestone grassland with scrub intermixed, so the habitat mosaic. So thank you very much indeed, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed this warm-up act for the next few speakers. Thank you very much.